Have you ever had that feeling where, well, okay, picture this. You're standing in a room.
Right.
Maybe it's a really high-stakes meeting at work with your manager. Or, maybe it's just a noisy coffee shop and you're just trying to order a drink.
Yeah, that classic pressure.
Exactly. Or even just talking to a new friend at a dinner party. And you know exactly what you want to say. Like, in your native language, the thought in your head is perfectly formed. It's smart. It's funny.
It's beautiful.
Right. But
Yeah.
then you open your mouth to actually speak that thought in English, and suddenly it's like your brain just entirely empties out.
Oh, yeah.
The words just completely disappear. You freeze up. Your heart beats a little faster. And, I mean, honestly, you just panic.
You do. And there's actually a scientific term for what's happening inside your head in that exact moment. It's called cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload. That sounds intense.
It is, because think about it. When you're reading a book or, writing an email, you have time. You can pause. But when you are speaking face-to-face with someone, your brain is trying to do way too many things at once.
It's juggling.
Right. It's trying to translate ideas from your native language into English. It's trying to monitor all your grammar rules. It's trying to check your physical pronunciation, like literally the position of your tongue. And at the exact same time, it is trying to read the other person's facial expressions to see if they actually understand you.
That is a lot for one brain to do in a split second.
Exactly. So what happens to a system that is pushed too far? The system just crashes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is exactly like having, say, 50 different tabs open on your computer browser.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. While you're trying to run some heavy video program, the fan starts spinning really loudly, the screen freezes, and absolutely nothing works.
Yeah.
That is your brain during a spoken English panic.
That is such a relieving way to think about it, honestly. I want to say right now to you, the listener, if you have felt that hot flash of panic, you are completely normal.
Completely normal.
It is not a sign that you are bad at English.
Yeah.
Not at all. It is simply a sign that your computer has too many tabs open.
Yes.
So today, our entire mission for this deep dive is to help you close those extra tabs. We've gathered a stack of linguistic studies, ESL behavioral research, and real-world conversation data. But, we are not just going to read a dry grammar textbook to you.
No, definitely not.
We are going into the real world. We are exploring the top 5 mistakes in daily life conversation. Because our real goal here isn't just to make your grammar technically perfect on paper. Our goal is to help you speak with clarity, with a really natural rhythm, and most importantly, completely without fear.
Exactly. We are going to walk through 5 very common, very tricky areas of the English language. These are the specific areas where the data shows learners hesitate the most. We'll give you simple, logical definitions for each one. We will explore exactly why the English language evolved to work this way, which really helps it make sense in your mind.
That context is so important.
It really is. And we'll look at practical, everyday examples from daily life and the workplace. So we're going to cover the difference between to and for. We will explore say versus tell.
Oh, that's a big one.
A huge one. Then we will break down the philosophy of do versus make. We'll organize much and many. And finally, we will tackle the absolute biggest hurdle of all, the prepositions of time and space in, on, and at.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to remind you, the listener, right at the start of our journey today.
Yeah.
You do not need perfect grammar to be a wonderful, engaging speaker. You really, really do not.
Absolutely true.
Communication is fundamentally about human connection, right? It's not mathematical perfection. But by smoothing out these 5 specific tricky areas, you're going to feel a massive weight lift off your shoulder.
You'll feel so much more confident.
Yeah, exactly. And throughout our conversation today, we are going to build your muscle memory. So if you are walking the dog or doing the dishes or, driving to work right now, get ready to practice with us.
Yes. Vocalize it.
You don't need to pause and talk loudly to an empty room, but I want you to at least mouth the words along with us so you can actually feel the rhythm.
Let us begin with our first category then. Mistake number 1 is the deep, deep confusion between the word to and the word for.
Oh, man. This is a classic stumbling block.
It really is. When you look at the linguistic history, these 2 little words have caused trouble for centuries because they feel so similar. They're both used when something is moving from one person to another.
Right.
But the underlying logic is entirely different. The simple rule here comes down to direction versus purpose.
Direction versus purpose. Okay.
Yes. We use the word to when we are talking about physical or metaphorical direction. It's about movement. It is about sending something directly to a receiver.
Okay, so movement.
Right. You can visualize the word to as a straight, sharp arrow pointing directly at someone. On the other hand, we use for when we were talking about a purpose, a reason, or giving someone a benefit.
Benefit.
Exactly. For is not an arrow. For is about the motivation behind the action. It answers the question, why did I do this?
Wait, I need to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because these two words sound so small and so simple. And in many languages, there is literally only one word that covers both of these ideas.
Yes, that's very true.
So when a learner is speaking quickly, their brain does not have time to stop and analyze, like, wait, is this action an arrow or is this action a benefit? It just feels like a guessing game. How do we make this visual and automatic?
That is a very fair pushback. The sheer speed of conversation makes it difficult. So let us look at two scenarios that are almost exactly the same to see how the underlying psychology changes the word.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine a situation with a birthday present. Listen to the sentence. I give a gift to my friend.
Okay. I give a gift to my friend.
In that sentence, the focus of the speaker is entirely on the receiver. Imagine holding a box. The box is literally leaving your hands and traveling through the air into your friend's hands.
Oh, I see.
The word to is the arrow connecting your hands to their hands. It is purely directional.
I can picture that. The physical movement of the box.
Yeah.
But, okay, what if I change just one tiny word and say, I buy a gift for my friend? Suddenly, the entire feeling of the story is different. The box isn't moving through the air anymore.
Exactly. Because now the focus is not on the movement. The focus is on the reason you walked into the store and spent your money in the first place.
Right. The motivation.
Yes. You are performing the action of buying in order to give them a benefit, to make them smile, to celebrate them. It's the purpose behind the action. You're doing them a favor or doing something on their behalf.
Let's put this into a high-stakes work context because I feel like this is where miscommunications can actually cause real problems. In the office, people send things constantly. Let's say I'm sitting at my desk, typing on my keyboard, and I say I need to send an email to my boss.
Okay, so in that case, the email is the object. It is traveling through the digital internet cables directly into your boss's personal inbox. Direction, arrow, receiver. Your boss is going to open it and read it.
But what if I use the other word? Like, what if I tell my coworker, I need to write an email for my boss? What does that actually mean in a corporate environment?
Oh, that changes the situation completely. And this is exactly where the danger lies if you mix them up. If you write an email for your boss, it implies that your boss is too busy to write it themselves.
Wow.
You are doing the labor. You are doing them a professional favor. The email is not going into your boss's inbox. The email is probably going to a client or to another department. But you did the hard work as a benefit to help your boss. You acted on their behalf.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. If you tell a client, I sent this to my boss, they think your boss is reading it. But if you say, I sent this for my boss, the client thinks you are speaking with your boss's authority.
That is a massive distinction. Mixing those up could completely confuse a client about who is actually in charge of the communication.
Exactly.
Okay, let me try to use this rule in a regular daily routine context. Let's imagine I had a really difficult, frustrating morning at work. Like a huge software system crashed.
Sounds stressful.
Very. And I want to tell you about how I handled it. I might say, oh, it was so stressful today, I explained the problem for my manager.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Oh, did I mess up?
What you just said is actually one of the most common traps in the entire English language.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Why? I mean, I was doing it to help my manager understand, right? So isn't that a benefit? Why wouldn't I use for?
It is a very logical guess based on the benefit rule, but English has a specific category of verbs that override that rule completely.
Oh, no. Exceptions.
Yes, but there's a logic to it. When we use verbs that are fundamentally about communicating information verbs like explain, talk, speak, and listen, we almost always use the word to.
Huh. Why is that?
The psychology of English actually treats words as physical objects that you are throwing at another person. You throw your words to them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You talk to me. You listen to the teacher. You speak to the audience. You explain to the manager.
That makes so much sense. Words are physical objects in the English mind, so I am throwing the explanation arrow at my manager. Okay, let me rebuild that sentence using the rule.
Try saying that again, but this time in a shorter and clearer way.
Okay. I explained the problem to my manager.
That is flawless. The rhythm is perfect.
And I want you, listening right now, to feel that rhythm in your own body. Explain to, talk to, listen to. Imagine you are just throwing a baseball directly into another person's glove. Every time you speak, you're throwing a baseball. The baseball is the word to.
What's fascinating here is that once you understand the basic mechanics of these two tiny words, the arrow versus the benefit, you can actually use both of them in the exact same sentence.
Combining them.
Yes. And when you do this naturally, you instantly sound like a highly proficient, native-level speaker. It demonstrates immense control over the language.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Give me a concrete example of using both the arrow and the benefit in one single sentence.
Let us go back to the birthday scenario. Imagine you want to tell the full story of what happened. You could say, I gave the book to John for his birthday.
Ooh, let me break that down to make sure the underlying logic is clear. I gave the book to John. There is the arrow. The physical direction. John is the receiver catching the baseball.
Correct.
And then, for his birthday, there is the reason, the underlying motivation, the benefit. So, I gave the book to John for his birthday.
Exactly. The movement and the meaning all in one breath.
Listener, I want you to feel the music of that sentence. Language is just as much about music and rhythm as it is about rules. Just whisper this to yourself wherever you are right now. Do not worry about having a perfect accent. A perfect accent doesn't exist anyway.
It really doesn't.
Just focus on the natural, relaxed rhythm of the words. Listen to how it flows. I gave the book to John for his birthday.
The rhythm is what matters most there. By feeling the beat of the sentence, you are building physical muscle memory in your jaw and your tongue. You are creating a new neural pathway in your brain.
Which means less thinking later.
Exactly. So that next time you are in a coffee shop or a boardroom, you do not have to think about the grammar rule. Your mouth will just know what feels right.
Exactly. Okay, we have mastered directing physical objects and favors with to and for. Now let's look at directing our actual words. This brings us to mistake number 2. Say versus tell.
Ah, yes.
If I had $1 for every time I heard a brilliant, highly educated professional mix these two words up, I would be a very wealthy person. This is a massive roadblock.
It certainly is, and it causes so much unnecessary hesitation. The core concept here is actually quite beautiful when you dive into the history of how these words developed.
Okay, lay it on me.
The simple rule is this. The verb say focuses entirely on the words themselves. It focuses on the message, the raw data, the noise coming out of a mouth.
Just the noise.
Right. The verb tell, however, focuses on the human being. It focuses on the person you are actually speaking to.
So say is about the words and tell is about the person.
Precisely. To use an analogy, think of the word say like a radio tower. A radio tower simply broadcasts music into the open air. It doesn't care who is listening. The music just goes out into the world. That is say.
Got it. Radio tower.
But think of the word tell like a laser pointer. A laser pointer must be pointed at a specific target. It requires a destination.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Because tell is focused on the person, there is a crucial, unbreakable mechanical rule in English. Immediately after the word tell, you absolutely must have a person.
No exception.
No exceptions. You have to say, told me, told John, told the manager, told us. But after the word say, you do not need a person. You just drop the words right there in the open air.
This clears up a mistake I hear constantly. It explains why my ear catches it, even when the learner doesn't understand why it feels wrong.
Give me an example.
Well, a learner will come up to me and say, she has said to me she was tired. Or maybe they walk into a crowded room, wave their hand, and say, I told hello. The communication technically works. I mean, I understand what they mean, but it feels jarring.
Right. Let us dissect why it feels jarring. She said, me feels wrong because say is a radio tower. It just broadcasts words. It does not want a specific person attached directly to it like a magnet.
Yeah.
And I told hello feels wrong because tell is a laser pointer that demands a human target, and hello is not a human being, it's just a word.
That makes perfect sense.
So we need to upgrade these awkward phrases into natural, native-sounding chunks. She said, me, she was tired, needs to become, she told me she was tired. You have the laser pointer, and me is the target.
And what about the greeting?
I told hello simply becomes, I said hello, you just broadcasted the greeting into the room.
I said hello. She told me she was tired. Okay, let me ask you about a situation that happens all the time in daily life. What if I am trying to repeat exactly what someone else said? Like, what if I'm quoting them?
If we look at the source material on how native speakers report conversations, the simple way to think about it is this. If you are quoting the exact word-for-word sentence that came out of someone's mouth, almost like you are reading a script in a movie theater, you use say.
Quote equals say.
Right. For example, he said, "I am late." You are just repeating the raw broadcast. But if you are taking the general information, processing it in your own brain, and then reporting that meaning to someone else, passing the message along, you use tell.
Like summarizing it.
Yes. For example, he told me he was late.
That is a brilliant distinction. Direct quotes use say. Reporting processed information to another human being uses tell. Let's do a scenario to really cement this, focusing on how we communicate at work, since, this is where the stakes often feel the highest and the panic is the worst.
Let's do it.
I am going to be your coworker. We are standing at the coffee machine in the office. I look at my watch, I look at you, and I broadcast the fact. The meeting starts at 10 a.m.
Okay, so I hear your broadcast. I take that raw information into my brain. Then I walk down the hallway, I see our listener sitting at their desk, and I want to report what you just shared with me.
Right.
Because I am focusing on the fact that you gave that specific information to me, I will use the laser pointer word. I will say, my coworker told me the meeting starts at 10.
There it is. The person is right there immediately after the verb. Told me. The laser pointer hit the target.
Now, listener, I want you to imagine you are the one reporting this vital information to your boss. Your boss asks you when the meeting is. How do you construct that sentence using the laser pointer rule?
Try saying that again, but this time in a shorter and clearer way.
Just feel the rhythm of focusing on the person.
Try to feel it in your mind. My coworker told me the meeting starts at 10. The person is the anchor of the sentence.
It is a very powerful mental shortcut. If you are ever frozen, trying to decide which word to use, just look to see if there's a person's name or a pronoun right next to the verb.
So what does this all mean for your daily life? If you remember absolutely nothing else from this second section, remember this short equation. Say equals words. Tell equals person.
Perfect summary.
Say is a radio tower. Tell is a laser pointer. If you can lock those two images into your visual imagination, you will completely eliminate 90% of the hesitation you feel when quoting people or passing on information in English.
That is a highly effective way to summarize it. Visualizing grammar makes it permanent. Now, speaking of actions, creating things and getting things done in the physical world, let's transition to our third category.
Let's do it.
We have covered how to direct physical objects and favors. We have covered how to direct our words to people. Now, we must talk about the physical actions we take with our hands every single day. This brings us to mistake number 3, do versus make.
Oh, wow. Yes. If there is a place where English learners truly freeze up and feel entirely lost, it is right here.
It's a tough one.
Like, do I do a coffee or make a coffee? Do I do my bed or make my bed? Do I do a decision or make a decision? In languages like Spanish with the word hacer or French with the word faire, it is all just one word.
I know, it seems so simple in other languages.
It feels entirely unfair that English split this into 2 words. It just feels like you have to memorize a dictionary of random phrases to get this right.
It absolutely can feel like a chaotic list of random rules, but I promise you there is a deep underlying philosophy to how English separates these 2 words.
A philosophy?
Yes, it goes back hundreds of years to how people viewed labor and craftsmanship. Use the word do when you were talking about general actions, work, tasks, or repeated daily routines.
Routines. Okay.
Things that are essentially maintenance. Chores that keep life running, but do not leave a new physical object behind. On the other hand, use the word make when you are talking about creating, producing, constructing, or building something entirely new that did not exist in the world before you took the action.
I love that. So do is for the ongoing maintenance of the universe, and make is for the creation of new things in the universe.
That is a very poetic and entirely accurate way to frame the linguistic data. Let's look at standard daily life examples to prove the rule. Think about your morning routines. You do the dishes, you do the laundry, you do your homework, you do your job.
Because they're ongoing.
Right. These are ongoing, repetitive tasks. Think about the physical reality. The dirty dishes are already sitting there in the sink. You are just performing the action of cleaning them. The dirty clothes are already in the basket. You are just washing them. You did not create the clothes or the plates.
Right. I'm not creating new plates out of wet clay in my kitchen sink. I am just doing the repetitive action of cleaning them to maintain my house. But if I walk into the kitchen to prepare food, I make a cake, I make breakfast, I make a cup of coffee. In those situations, I am taking raw ingredients, flour, eggs, coffee beans, hot water, and combining them to produce something brand new that did not exist 10 minutes ago.
Exactly. You are a creator in those moments, and this philosophy extends beyond just physical objects in the kitchen. We also use make for abstract creations, things you create in society or in relationships.
Like what?
You make money. You make a phone call. The phone call did not exist in the air before you picked up the device, dialed the numbers, and created the connection between two people. You make a plan. The plan did not exist until your brain built it.
Okay, hold on. I need to challenge this rule because there is one specific phrase that learners point out to me all the time, and it feels like a massive illogical exception to everything you just said.
Let's hear it.
What about the phrase, make a mistake? Why on earth isn't it do a mistake? When I fail at something or type the wrong number into a spreadsheet, I feel like I am just doing an action badly. I am failing at maintenance. I see where you're going with this.
I certainly do not feel like a beautiful artist creating a magical mistake out of clay. Why do we use the word of creation for an error?
I love this question, and it is the exact place where so many learners get frustrated. A lot of learners get stuck here because they think a mistake is just an action.
Right, an action done badly.
But in the deep psychology of the English language, a mistake is not viewed as the action itself. A mistake is viewed as an outcome. It is a tangible result.
An outcome?
Yes, it is something that is created or produced by our incorrect action. You took an action, and the end product that you built and left behind in the world was an error. You produced it. Therefore, according to the strict logic of the language, you made a mistake.
Wow. That completely flips how I think about it. The mistake is the product. It is the ugly, burned cake that I baked. I took raw ingredients, my time, my effort, my bad math, and I built a terrible result. I made it.
Exactly. You did not just perform a routine chore, you brought a brand new error into the world that did not exist before you arrived. That is incredibly helpful for remembering it. It takes the frustration away when you understand the history of the thought process. Let's build a physical habit of using these two words together, because in reality, switching back and forth between do and make is what actually happens in daily conversation.
Yes, let's practice the switch.
I'm going to say a short, very natural paragraph describing a normal daily routine. I want the listener to just listen to the music and the rhythm first. Here we go. I do my homework, I do the cleaning, and I make dinner. Sometimes I make mistakes, but I always do my best.
Try saying that again, but this time in a shorter and clearer way. Actually, no, that flows so beautifully. Let us dissect why that paragraph feels so native and correct.
Let's break it down.
Homework and cleaning are maintenance tasks, so you do them. Dinner is a creation from raw ingredients, so you make it. Mistakes are new outcomes produced by you, so you make them. And your best is an ongoing, continuous effort of labor, a general action, so you do your best.
I want you to imagine that you are explaining your evening routine to a friend. How would you weave those creations and those maintenance tasks together? Just feel the way your mouth switches from do to make. I do the cleaning, but I make dinner.
It becomes a natural dance once you stop fighting the rule and start understanding the philosophy.
Yeah, exactly.
The pure confidence that you are looking for in your spoken English will only come after repeated use, not before. You cannot sit in a quiet room and think your way into speaking fluently. You have to physically speak your way into it. The muscles must learn the dance.
I absolutely love that. You cannot think your way into fluency. You have to put the words in your mouth. Okay, let's keep moving through our journey. So far, we know how to direct objects. We know how to direct our words to specific people. And we understand the deep philosophy behind the things we do and the things we make.
Correct.
But once we start doing and making things in the world, we inevitably have to explain to other people how much of those things we have. This is a very natural transition into mistake number 4, much versus many.
This section is entirely about quantities and how the human brain categorizes the physical world. In linguistic terms, the core concept here is built around one simple biological question. Can you physically count the item with numbers? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, counting.
We use the word many for things that are strictly countable. Apples, friends, chairs, cars, books, light bulbs. If you can hold 3 of them in your hand or point to them individually in a room, you use many.
Pretty straightforward.
We use the word much for things that are uncountable, things that function as a single continuous mass or an abstract concept. Water, time, sugar, air, love, research. You cannot logically say, I have 3 waters or I feel 4 loves.
No, that sounds weird.
Right, you have to measure those things in containers or degrees, like glasses of water or a lot of love.
I always tell learners to keep this incredibly visual in their mind's eye. If you close your eyes and picture a wooden bowl full of apples, you can reach out and point to each individual one. 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples. They have clear borders, countable. Therefore, you ask, how many apples?
Excellent visualization.
But if you change the picture and imagine a giant lake full of water, you cannot point to individual, distinct pieces of water. It is just one big, continuous thing. It has no internal borders, uncountable. Therefore, you ask, how much water?
The visual of the continuous lake versus the separated bowl of apples is a perfect mental model. But because we are dealing with a language that evolved over thousands of years of human trading and bartering, we have to address the tricky words.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
There are a few words in English that logically seem like you should be able to count them in the real world, but the grammatical rules of the language strictly say no.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the ultimate trick word, money. Because learners will constantly and justifiably argue with me about this.
I am sure they do.
They will hold up their wallet and say, but I can count money. Look, I have exactly $10 right here in my physical hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's countable.
Why is money considered uncountable? And logically, they're absolutely right to be confused. You can count dollars, you can count coins, you can count euros, you can count pesos, you can count yen.
Right.
But you have to look at how the actual English word money functions. Money is not a specific object. Money is a mass noun.
A mass noun, okay.
It is a broad, abstract category that contains all the countable things inside it. It is the concept of wealth. So you can absolutely ask, how many dollars do you have? Because dollars are the apples. But you must always ask, how much money do you have? Because money is the lake.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. The word money is the lake, the big category.
Yeah.
And the individual dollars or coins are the apples floating in the lake. So dollars get many, but money gets much.
Precisely. You count the units, but you mask the category. Another huge trap, especially in the professional corporate world, is the word information.
Oh, yes. I hear this one constantly.
People desperately want to say many informations because they receive 5 different emails, but information in the psychology of English is like a liquid. It is a fluid concept. It is an uncountable mass of data. You cannot have 3 informations. You must ask, how much information do you have?
And if they need a specific number.
If you really truly need to count it for a report, you have to pour that liquid into a container word. You have to ask how many pieces of information or how many files.
How much money and how much information. Just mastering those 2 specific phrases alone will save you so much embarrassment and hesitation in a serious business meeting.
Without a doubt.
But, I want to be realistic about human nature, even with these great visual tricks. The lake, the apples, the containers. When you are stressed out, when the CEO is looking directly at you across a glass table waiting for an answer, your brain might still blank out.
Tabs crashing again.
Exactly. You might suddenly forget if a specific word is a mass category or a countable unit.
Which is exactly why we need to provide the ultimate beginner hack, a complete, foolproof safety net for your conversations.
I am ready. Give us the hack.
If you are ever panicking, your heart is racing, and you absolutely cannot remember if the noun you want to say takes much or many, you can completely bypass the grammar rule altogether by using the phrase, a lot of.
Yes, the magic phrase, the ultimate escape hatch.
It truly is magic because a lot of functions grammatically perfectly for both countable units and uncountable masses. You can say a lot of apples and you can say a lot of water.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You can say a lot of friends and a lot of free time. It requires 0 cognitive load to choose.
What that means in real life is you never, ever have to stop your sentence and let awkward silence fill the room. If you feel yourself hesitating, if you feel the panic rising, just throw a lot of into the gap and keep your conversational momentum going.
Exactly. Keep speaking.
Let's do a little role play here to show how this saves a conversation. Imagine I am a non-native speaker. I am trying to talk about my incredibly busy work schedule to a colleague, and I start stumbling because my brain tabs are crashing. I have many, no, much work today.
I can hear the panic setting in there. You are losing your professional flow and your authority because you are desperately searching a mental dictionary for the grammar rule.
Right.
Let's use the safety net. Try saying that again, but this time in a shorter and clearer way, using the hacks so you don't lose eye contact.
Okay, here we go. I have a lot of work today.
Look at how much better that is. Smooth, confident, professional, and grammatically flawless. You didn't even have to think about whether work is countable or uncountable.
Let's do one more to prove it works for everything.
Yeah.
Imagine I am talking about my budget. I don't have much.
Yeah.
Many dollars.
The hesitation kills the confidence. Rebuild it.
I don't have a lot of dollars.
Perfect. Use a lot of as your bridge. It is a tool designed to keep the human connection alive while your brain catches up.
Okay, we have arrived at the final hurdle of our deep dive. We know how to talk about our actions. We know how to quantify our mass nouns and our countable units. We know how to direct our words.
We're making great progress.
But to truly finish our daily life conversations, we need to be able to tell people exactly where and when all these actions and creations are happening in the universe. We need to talk about the dimensions of time and location. This brings us to mistake number 5, the prepositions in, on, and at.
This specific area is traditionally considered the single most frustrating part of English grammar by linguists and learners alike. It feels incredibly arbitrary.
It feels like random dart throwing sometimes.
But there is a highly effective, powerful visual tool we can use here that brings perfect order to the chaos. I want you to close your eyes and imagine an upside-down triangle or a giant funnel used for pouring oil into a car.
Okay, a big funnel.
The top of the funnel is very wide and broad, the middle of the funnel is slightly narrower, and the bottom of the funnel comes down to a tiny, sharp, precise point. We are going to use this funnel to organize the words in, on, and at from the biggest and most general concepts, all the way down to the smallest and most specific points.
The funnel of specificity. I absolutely love this visual. It takes something invisible and makes it physical. Let's start at the very top, the widest, broadest part of the funnel.
The widest part of the funnel represents the word ing. We use in for big, general, expansive things. Let's look at physical places first. This means large enclosed areas, vast regions, cities, or countries.
So big spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
You live in Cambodia, you work in London,
Right.
you sit in an office building, you are surrounded by a massive border. Now, what is fascinating is how the human brain maps time using the exact same spatial logic.
Really? How so?
For time, in is used for long, sweeping, broad periods. You were born in 1990. The massive project happens in January. You drink your coffee in the morning. Broad, wide, general boundaries.
Okay, so EN is the big container. A big container of land or a big container of time. Now we move down the funnel to the middle section, which is getting a bit tighter. This is
Exactly. On is getting more specific. It is medium-sized. For physical places, on shrinks down from a whole country to just flat surfaces. The picture is on the wall. The book is resting on the table. The coffee cup is on the desk.
Flat surfaces. Got it. What about time?
For time, on shrinks down from massive years and months to specific, individual days and dates. The important meeting is on Monday. The celebration party is on your birthday. The strict project deadline is on October 20th.
This logic is so satisfying. Large areas and long times get the big word. Flat surfaces and single days get the medium word. On. Now we go to the very bottom of the funnel, the sharpest, tiniest point.
That sharp point is AT. At is for exact, pinpointed, laser-focused precision. For physical places, it is not a country or a surface. It is a specific spot on a map or an exact address.
Okay, a point on a map.
Yes. You are waiting exactly at the bus stop. You are standing right at the front door. You are at 123 Main Street. For time, it is the exact, specific hour and minute on the clock. The train departs at 6 a.m. The stars come out at night.
This funnel changes everything. In is big, on is medium, that is exact. But, of course, because this is the English language we were talking about, there is always a historical trap waiting for us.
There always is.
And a brilliant learner asked me a question recently that completely blew my mind because it exposed a weird quirk in our physical spaces.
What did they ask?
They asked me, why do we say that we ride on the bus, but we drive in the car? Because logically, a bus and a car are both enclosed metal vehicles. Why does the preposition change if the object is essentially the same thing?
That is a wonderful, highly observant question, and it brings up what linguists call the public transport rule.
The public transport rule.
Yes. It actually traces back hundreds of years to how humans interacted with ships and horse-drawn carriages. English treats transportation differently based entirely on how your human body physically interacts with the space inside the vehicle.
The human body. How?
We use the medium word on for large public transport where you have the physical space to stand up on your feet and walk around a flat surface while the vehicle is moving. Historically, you walked on the deck of a ship. Today, you are on the bus, you are on the train, you are on the plane, you walk on them.
Right. I can stand up, stretch my legs, and walk down the aisle of an airplane to go to the restroom.
Yeah.
So I am physically on a surface.
Exactly. You are on a mobile floor. But for small private vehicles where you have to physically crouch down, bend your body, get inside a box, and you cannot possibly stand up and walk around, we use the container word in. You are in the car. You are in a taxi. You are in a small helicopter. You are enclosed inside a tight space.
That makes total sense visually and historically. On the bus, because it's a floor, in the car, because it's a box. It's all about how the human body fits into the physical space. Okay, let's bring all three of these time levels, big, medium, and exact together, into one incredibly useful scenario, focusing on work routines.
Scheduling is crucial.
Because scheduling meetings is where intelligent professionals make this mistake every single day, and it can cause massive confusion across time zones. Let's say I am a junior employee trying to schedule a crucial meeting with a client, and the pressure is making my English a bit weak. I might frantically say something like, okay, the meeting is in Monday at the morning.
I understand what you mean, and the client would probably guess what you mean, but we are violently mixing up our funnel levels there. We are putting a big word with a medium concept.
Right, it feels clunky.
Let's upgrade it using our big, medium, and small rules. First, let's look at the day. Days are medium-sized. They are flat surfaces on a calendar, so they take the medium word on Monday.
On Monday.
Next, we look at the general time of day. The morning is a broad, sweeping period of hours, so it takes the big container word in the morning.
In the morning.
Finally, we look at the exact clock time. That is the tiny pinpoint, so it takes at 8 a.m. So the full, beautiful professional sentence is, the meeting is on Monday, in the morning, at 8 a.m.
On Monday in the morning at 8 a.m. It feels like smoothly stepping down a staircase from the top all the way to the bottom. Listener, this is your moment to prove you own this concept. I want you to imagine you are sitting across from your boss right now, looking them in the eye, scheduling your weekly review.
Try saying that again, but this time in a shorter and clearer way using the steps of the funnel.
Feel the steps in your mind. The meeting is on Monday in the morning at 8 a.m.
Fantastic.
We have just conquered the top 5 mistakes that cause 90% of the cognitive overload in daily conversation. We solved the arrow versus the benefit with toe and fore. We solved the broadcast versus the laser pointer with say and tell.
Yes, we did.
We solved maintenance versus creation with do and make. We solved mass versus units with much and many. And we conquered the funnel of time and space with in, on, and at, but.
Yes. There is a very large but here. If we connect this entire deep dive to the bigger picture of language acquisition, understanding these 5 rules intellectually is wonderful, but it is entirely insufficient.
It's just the first step.
Knowing the grammar rules on a piece of paper does not create fluency in the real world. Fluency is not a test of knowledge. Fluency is a physical act. You have to put the words in your mouth, move your tongue, engage your vocal cords, and actually speak them aloud repeatedly until they become automatic reflex actions.
That is the absolute truth. You cannot learn how to swim by sitting in a chair and reading a book about the chemical properties of water. Eventually, you have to jump into the pool and get wet.
Beautiful analogy.
Throughout this conversation, we have been using little transitional phrases naturally. Phrases like, let me give you a simple example, or if I wanted to explain this simply, I would say, linguists call these spoken chunks. These chunks are absolute gold for a learner.
They buy you time.
They're pre-built sentences that buy your brain time to think about the grammar rules while keeping you sounding incredibly fluent and natural. You do not need to sound perfect to say this well. You just need to prioritize a clear, steady rhythm over stressing about perfect pronunciation.
And to help you build that physical rhythm and that muscle memory, we are not just going to let you listen to this deep dive and walk away feeling smart. We need to translate that intelligence into action. We have designed a 7-day speaking challenge for you.
A challenge. I love it.
This is a clear, step-by-step roadmap based on behavioral science that you can execute completely alone over the next week. It is designed to slowly transform your intellectual understanding into actual physical spoken confidence.
I love a good challenge, especially one that takes away the guesswork. Let's break this down organically, day by day, so the listener knows exactly what to do tomorrow. How do we start on day one?
Day one, which could be tonight or tomorrow morning, is about pure immersion. Your only job is to listen to a 10-minute section of this deep dive again. But here is the trick, and it is vital. Do not take notes.
No notes at all.
Do not hold a pen. Do not stress about memorizing the grammar rules we just taught you. Just listen for the overall meaning and, more importantly, the melody of how we speak. Listen to the music of the English language. Let your brain subconsciously absorb the rhythm of the spoken chunks.
I love that. No pressure, just music.
Okay.
Okay, so I sleep on it, my brain processes it, and then I wake up for day two. What is the mission for day two?
Day two is where you activate your analytical brain. You are going to listen to that exact same 10-minute section again. But this time, sit at a desk, get a physical pen and paper. You are going to hunt for gold.
Hunted for chunk.
Write down 8 useful chunks of English that we use naturally in conversation. Not single vocabulary words, but short, connecting phrases. Things like what that means is, or a lot of people think. The behavioral science shows that physically writing them down by hand, not typing on a phone, forces your brain to process the words at a slower speed, which actually helps wire them deep into your long-term memory.
Writing by hand is a lost art, but it works so well for memory. Okay, I have my list of 8 chunks. I wake up on day 3, now we get a physical, right?
Exactly. Day 3 is all about the physical muscles of the jaw, the lips, and the tongue. This is shadowing day.
Shadowing, like an echo.
You are going to take those 8 phrases you wrote down, hit play on the audio, and try to speak the lines out loud right after we say them. You are trying to copy our exact speed. You are copying where we pause to take a breath. You are copying where our voices go up in pitch and down in pitch. You are acting as a vocal shadow. You are training the physical machinery of your face to produce English sounds effortlessly.
Okay, so day 3 is the physical workout. My jaw is probably tired. Now it is day 4. The training wheels come off.
Day 4 is the test of recall. You put the notes away in a drawer. You turn off the audio completely. You are in a quiet room. Set a timer on your phone for exactly 2 minutes. Your goal is to talk out loud to yourself about the 5 mistakes we covered today.
For 2 whole minutes, that's hard.
It is. Try to explain the do versus make philosophy to an imaginary friend sitting in the chair across from you. Doing this without notes is incredibly difficult at first. It forces your brain to actively retrieve the information from scratch, which drastically strengthens your mental recall speed.
It feels ridiculous talking to an empty room, I know. You will feel a bit crazy, but it is one of the most powerful things you can do. Now, day 5. This is the brave day. This requires some courage. What do we do?
On day 5, you are going to take your phone, open the voice memo recording app, and actually record your own voice talking about the rules for 2 minutes. Then, the hard part, you have to listen to the playback.
Oh, nobody likes that.
I know, nobody on earth likes hearing their own recorded voice. It is uncomfortable, but you must listen specifically for where you hesitate. Notice where you say, or where you stumble over a word. That hesitation is not a failure. That hesitation is pure, objective data. It is a map telling you exactly what tiny gap in your knowledge you need to practice next.
Reframing hesitation as data is brilliant. It takes the emotion out of it. Okay, we are almost done. Day 6, we have the beta, we have the recording. What's next?
Day 6 is about ultimate simplification, which is the true mark of mastery. Take the complex concepts we discussed today, like the funnel of specificity or the mass noun concept, and try to retell them out loud using even simpler English than you used on day 4.
Like explaining it to a kid.
Pretend you are explaining it to a 10-year-old child. If you can explain a complex linguistic rule using basic, everyday vocabulary, it proves you truly deeply own the concept. It builds immense cognitive flexibility. You are no longer repeating a textbook. You are manipulating the ideas yourself.
Einstein always said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Finally, we reach day 7, the grand finale of the week.
Day 7 is integration. You are going to have a mini conversation. You can do this with a friend who is also learning English over coffee, or honestly, you can just play both sides of the conversation yourself while looking in the bathroom mirror. The goal is to naturally weave at least 3 of the pre-written chunks from day 2 into a flowing conversation while explaining one of the rules. You bring the music, the memory, and the physical muscles all together into one performance.
If you follow that exact 7-day progression immersion, writing, shadowing, free speaking, analyzing your data, simplifying the concepts, and conversational integration, you will see a dramatic, measurable reduction in that hot flash of panic we talked about at the very beginning of the show. Your computer will finally have enough processing power to handle all those open tabs.
It is a complete holistic workout for your English brain. And as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with one final philosophical thought to take with you into the world. We titled this conversation The Top 5 Mistakes, but I want to radically reframe how you think about that specific word, mistake.
This is so important because people carry so much shame around making errors.
Exactly. And they shouldn't. This raises a crucial point about how the human brain actually learns. Making mistakes is not the opposite of learning. Making mistakes is the very process of learning.
It is the process.
It is the only physical way the biological brain adapts to new environments. Every single time you accidentally say, I make the dishes, and someone gently corrects you to do the dishes, your brain fires a brand new synapse. It recognizes the friction. It builds a stronger, thicker neural connection to prevent the friction next time. The mistake you make today is literally the physical architecture of your fluency tomorrow. Do not fear the mistake. Welcome it as absolute proof that you are pushing your boundaries.
That is incredibly powerful. The mistake is proof that you're in the arena, actually fighting to learn, instead of hiding in the shadows. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We truly hope that as you walk away from this, you feel a little lighter, a little more understood, and a lot more confident. You are ready to practice speaking clearly, naturally, and with far less fear. Keep practicing your rhythm every single day, even if it is just whispering a short sentence to yourself while you are making your morning cup of coffee.
And as you go through your week, remember to visualize the core concepts. Focus on the arrow of direction and the reason of purpose. Focus on broadcasting words and targeting people. Focus on the philosophy of creating new things versus maintaining old things. And always remember the funnel of time and space.
If you found this conversation helpful, and if it brought you a little bit of clarity today, please subscribe to English on Mic and leave a like. It helps us keep making these in-depth deep dives to help you master spoken English and connect with the world. Until next time, keep speaking, keep building those neural pathways, keep making those beautiful, necessary mistakes, and we will catch you in the next one.